Hello, everybody. So my name is Walker Mettling. Am I too loud? It's loud to me, but I'm hearing monitors or something, I think. What'd you say? Good. Oh, they will get bigger. And there's no way to make this picture bigger, but thank you. I'm a screen printer and a cartoonist in Providence, and I've taught lots of comics classes in this room. It's been a while, and upstairs. I run a project called the Providence Comics Consortium, and we do comics classes and make books and do all sorts of other stuff. I made a book having to do with Night Memorial. I had made a book last year about the storage at the RISD Museum and objects there that were no longer attached to any curators. And it was already in my brain to come here and document the storage in the stacks, which if you were up in the stacks right there, you could look through those holes and you know, it's kind of fun. I've done that, to look in here and just check, survey, not in a creepy way. But anyways, just knowing that where those holes lead to. And so I just have a handful of photos to share with you about some screen printing that I did at the beginning of this process that was part of this project. Screen printing shirts and posters with kids upstairs in December at the same time that I was doing research and photography in the stacks. And we'll go. And I just to prove that that was me, I left my face unblotted in this first one. We blot the children's faces if we don't get an okay, but I think I blotted my own face in solidarity later on. So that was super fun and super weird. You can see, right at the beginning, I started getting kind of fixated on Long Pond, and we'll get to that in a second. It's the giant pond that used to be the center of this neighborhood. So these are some pictures from the stacks. The nice thing about Night Memorial as a site is that, you know, the Preservation Society as well as the library gets a lot of people going through the stacks. When this library was first built, they had room for 200,000 books, much more than the Elmwood Public Library had as far as their collection goes. And these all are the handwritten vital statistics collected by James Arnold. So those are mostly what's left of the Arnold Collection that is mostly at the Providence Public Library now. So he was going around on these iconic crutches to the different county and city registries in the late 1800s, early 1900s, collecting American, British, and indigenous birth and death dates. And so that's what those are, wrapped in old newspapers. I think he was a little bit of a hoarder, so when he died in 1927, 4 to 5 years after the library was open, they had room in the stacks to accept all of this man's accumulations. And there was cool stuff in there too, and these are cool, but they've been published, so their existence is perhaps inconsequential in terms of just having the originals, but they take up tons of room in but they're beautiful as weird objects. The stacks. I think I'm going to continue my project a little bit more, and I'm going to make some posters based on unboxing a bunch of World War I posters that are in the mix. I found a couple of letterpress plates while I was going around, and I really like. Thanks to Maureen Taylor, who was assigned to me for this project. I'm an amateur photo detective, but this one. So you can see the text on the top says Indian Reservation East Side. So that was an interesting challenge to try and figure out where this map was from. And so just in terms of kind of figuring it out, I found, so Cockampog Pond is now called Schoolhouse Pond, but Deep Pond is still Deep Pond. And so this is in Charlestown, right next to the Narragansett Indian Church. There's Long Pond. So how many of you guys are totally like bored and like don't have, like how many of you already knew about Long Pond? Raise your hands. Cool. Okay, well, and I think this is where, in terms of you bothering Brent, I think this is where maybe made Brent nervous. I spent a lot of time researching Long Pond as like the prehistory for this project. So here's Robert Knight's house. He had a big old estate, and this is where we are currently sitting right now. Gilbert Stuart ends up here, and this is Long Pond. Up here is the first official dump in Providence, and that's how it starts getting filled in as like the orchards, nurseries start getting flattened out. There's fill dirt and then just regular old garbage and night soil and horses. This was me trying to figure out the bounds from a bunch of different maps, old maps, where you can see. I was talking with somebody on the way over I was talking with you about like how in some of the maps this part of Long Pond is very square, but you can see it when it had some more natural edges at a certain point. I did a Long Pond talk. I'll probably do another Long Pond talk that's perhaps edited down a little bit. I'll take the note that I got about being verbose. So this is, yeah, he heard it. So this is the beginning of the process pics. So I showed you the photograph that I used of the Arnold packages, and then this is James Arnold's book plate after he died for his collection. And one of the secret things that was in my pocket the whole time was, so 2015 is when the Providence Public Library officially got the rest of the Arnold Collection. When Knight Memorial was part of the Providence Public Library, for those few years, the glass plate negatives, all of Arnold's old photographs, ended up at the Special Collections downtown. Oh, well, I lost my train of thought a little bit. Wait, what?
The secret that you were keeping.
Oh, okay, yes, yeah, thank you. That was perfect. Yeah, one secret thing that I was looking for. So when they took all that stuff, there was one of the things that they couldn't find in the Arnold collection that they wanted, other than these leftover odds and ends that they didn't want, was he had a collection of anti-Catholic pamphlets, which I think I'm using the correct terms in terms of emailing the Special Collections. I'm like, okay, anti-papist. I was like, I'll bend to whatever and then eugenics pamphlets. And so they actually found, well, not exactly. They showed me pictures of some periodicals that they actually found today that they thought were part of those anti-Catholic collection. But actually, I think the last time I went down to Special Collections, I had them pull out what they already had down there, and perhaps just when the objects were flowing freely between Knight Memorial and Providence Public. Like, I think they maybe were already there. I looked at a bunch of anti-papist pamphlets that weren't, that they didn't know what the provenance was. So I'm going to run you through the screen printing process. But I'll just point this out while this is here. That's Chinavi Che. She was my cultural scholar. I actually went and just talked to her in between walking back and forth. She started coming to this library in 1980 when she moved to Providence from Cambodia, and she went to school at Gilbert Stuart. And so, I actually have a chunk of an interview in the book that she did. But so anyways, here's that page once I've made and drawn straight onto the acetate, and then I'm gonna burn it on a screen. My book hasn't been through a computer at all. There's no digital files of it at all. And so that's the burning setup that we have at the studio. Some of the prints of the columns that are in the back that are in the book without their yellow and black layers. A screen print of the stacks without. I'm glad I took a picture of this, because there's a supposed ghost in the stacks named Becky. It's a white lady ghost, so I think that's why. But so in the book there's also a ghost in this print. There's the Long Pond pages with I secreted it in on the pink layer. The library's right there. Column. And then those are the two books next to each other. I want to thank Julia Gualtieri for her bookbinding expertise. There's the box of keys from upstairs. I gave Gail Yallop, the managing librarian, a photo credit for that. She emailed me that photo in the top of the box of keys. Both a fan of the box of keys. That poor person in room number 34 who never returned their key. And then these are some of the finished pages inside the book. And I'll after we do the Q&A and stuff, you can you can flip through the book. I have the black light back there because they all shine. And just wanted to shout out to Kenny Borge. He was I tried a experiment in terms of having a photographer go around with me. Kenny is a skateboarding videographer, and I think a different project that we're gonna do that will like kind of hop off of this one. Upstairs in the vertical files, there's a bunch of files on local like memorials. And so we were actually talking about doing a project about the history of like skating spots in Providence. That would be crazy because the World War I monument that skateboarders are all around downtown, there is this, I found this crazy picture in the vertical files of like, you know, just like thousands of people, everybody like misty-eyed because the war was over, and you're like, oh, it's interesting when it was very close to the war and people, you know, felt it in their guts that it was over. But now it's kind of this, oh, it's a war monument. It kind of has a different spin on it. And then, yeah, I don't know. And so that's just, if you have, when we do the Q&A, questions about bookmaking, screen printing, I think maybe I'm waist deep in it. And so in terms of explaining those things, I might, you know, I'm happy to be more elaborate. But I think in general, that's the end of my pictures.